Welcome to the Insights from the Inside Executive Summary. The Executive Summary is an edited version of the episode that features the best bits of knowledge from our guests' insights about technology, digital products, and much more. If you like the content, you can find a link to the full episode in the description below.
In order to maintain a digital product and making sure that you're hearing your customers and you have the ability of making changes continuously, you have to have a good foundation.
Hey there, and welcome to the next episode of Insights from the Inside. I'm your host, Wesley Campbell. In today's episode, we have none other than José Antonio Silva. He's the CTO and one of the founders of Modyo, which is a software company here founded in 2008 that is focused on developing tools to build and manage digital experiences in the cloud. José Antonio is a passionate software developer with over 20 years of experience and a great focus on server-side cloud technologies and the development of tools designed for solutions for large organizations. Now, Tonio is an expert in software architecture, especially those related to web development, as well as technology integration, cloud computing, and web architectures for scalability. We cover a broad range of topics during the conversation, but suffice it to say that his mission really is about how to build better software that helps drastically improve how large companies can build, deploy, and manage their own digital products and services so that they're more innovative and can add more value. It was a fascinating conversation, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So now I give you José Antonio. Okay, and now we're here with the next IFTY episode, and I'm super happy. Really like talking to the guy because every conversation goes in a direction that I always find super interesting. And I will have already given him an introduction, but the brains of the operation behind Modyo, our CTO, this is José Antonio Silva. José, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Wes, for having me here. It's a great opportunity to talk about the history of Modyo and how we made a lot of the decisions behind the platform. So it's a really good opportunity, and I thank you a lot for this.
Yeah, we chose you because a lot of people are really interested in what we're doing now and what we're looking to do in the future. And I think that this conversation is going to serve to help people understand a bit behind the kind of thinking behind everything that's going on and what we're doing in the platform. And it's just a fascinating topic in general because, you know, in one thing we work in technology, but then we're approaching all these industries. There's very interesting use cases. But before we even get there, why don't we just kind of roll things back a bit, and we'll start with you. So tell us about your background and how are you sitting now, CTO of Modyo? How'd you get here today?
Well, that is a not easy to answer question. It's a long answer. I really love technology since I was a little child. From this generation that grew up with Ataris, with the first Nintendos. I also had the opportunity to explore internet very young. Even before the web exists, there was a protocol called Gooper, which was really old. There was different ways to connect computers like BBS and really nerd stuff. And I had the lucky of have the opportunity to play with those technologies since I was a little teenager. So for me, I always been in love with the technology. Obviously, I had to study computer science because it was really natural for me. I never had a crisis, a vocational crisis, because I always knew that I wanted to have computers all my life. And I was so excited about the internet at that time that I knew that it is going to be a great opportunity for me. And I really want to be part of the transformation that was happening in the world at that time. I'm talking about the early 2000s. And so it was a really exciting time to study computer science. So at that time, I studied computer science in Federico Santa Maria, which is a really great place to study technology because the whole university is just for engineering. So I had a lot of friends from electrical engineering, from Informatica, which was the name of computer science at the university, but also other kind of engineers that are more focused for industrial engineering, the business side. So it was a really great time there. I studied like 2 years, and in the third year, I got really bored about the theory. So I wanted to start my own company, and actually I started one. And the university has this awesome program called the Business Incubator. So I started working inside the university and also finishing my studies, but with this idea of creating a company and build software. I didn't knew at that time what kind of software I want to build, but I really knew that I wanted to work in internet and having the chance to play with all the technologies that I love. So I managed to recruit some people to work on my company without any kind of payment, salary. So, but there was people that are passionate as me for the technology, so it's really great. Actually, one of them works actually in Modyo today, so it was a
Wow,
really,
to this
really,
day,
really
wow.
good time. Exactly. So I was doing that. At some point, the university stopped because I finished my studies. But I didn't want to work in a formal company. So I didn't want to be a simple software engineer. I wanted to create my own company. So I keep working in the university, but at some time, I realized that I have no sense of business. So
Oh.
all of the products, all of the products that I created with this team, we never sold anything to anyone. We had users. I mean, we created a lot of crazy stuff. Software as a service at that time wasn't so popular, but we managed to create a software as a service platform for managing projects and information, but we never were capable to charge for that. So in that period of time, I met Mark Bonnell, the Modyo CEO, and we talked a lot, and I said to me, this is the guy that I want to follow the rest of my life because he has a lot of clarity about the how the technology has to be settled with basically the business perspective and all the things that I didn't know at the time. So I basically said to my team, I'm going to work with Mark. Follow Mark if you want, but I'm gonna go to work with this Canadian because I really think that at that time that was a great opportunity to me. Since that time, I think that it was one of the best decisions of my entire life because we've been working together for more than 14 years, I think. And in these 14 years, we learned a lot together. We had the chance to build this product. One thing is the product, the technical decisions, but the other is the company, the culture behind the company, the way that we pursue the value for our clients. And I think that it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. So, in talking about the platform, so for example, this whole theme of leaving that legacy behind, we know working with clients that sometimes that's not always so easy for them, right? And so, but we have a platform that we work with that type of client all the time. But the platform that we have, it's the classification, it's a DXP or a digital experience platform. So now that we're focused a little bit there, why don't we start by explaining to our listeners basically kind of what is DXP, maybe which products aren't a DXP, and then we can kind of go from there. So let's try to focus the definition so that people can understand a little bit better. Like, what is a DXP?
Absolutely. Well, DXP is all about digital experience, and the digital experience is something that is not static. It's always changing because of the technology, right? At the beginning, the DXP platforms, they only had to deal with this one channel, which was the web browser, right? But
Right.
after that, the mobile devices, the things like smartwatches or whatever, even in your car, you can have a computer there, is something that is changing. So a DXP platform is a concept that has to be evolving with that reality, because it's a fast changing topic. I like to think about our DXP as a DXP that basically can do three things, and we try to do these three things really well. One is to manage the content. The content is really, really, really important. The content is the foundation behind all any kind of digital experience, because you always start with a public site experience in which you're trying to sell a product to someone. So it's really important that you can manage your content with agility, right? Um, at some point, that content has to be published in a space, right? You need to
Right.
create a way to publish that content and to propagate that information. So another thing that is really important for a DXP is to have the mechanism to basically make sure that you can publish that content to the web. And the web is growing as a concept, because at the beginning of the internet, the World Wide Web was just restricted to desktop devices. But now the mobile web is growing really fast. We are now talking about web applications that are going to basically take a portion of the native applications market, because you can now build on top of web technologies experiences that are really great. So managing those kind of channels is another important thing of creating a digital experience platform. The content that you are managing in your platform, you can also want to provide mechanisms to take that content to other platforms. If you don't want to publish that content in your own platform, you have to have the APIs to basically export that content and making sure that you can deliver that to different devices and to different experiences. For instance, if you want to have a big screen in the branches that you have as a financial company, for instance, as a bank, sure. You can feed the screens with contents that came from your DXP, if your DXP has those capabilities. That's why we call it the headless content management solution or content platform. That is not a new concept. There always be a headless platform. Like in the past, there is this standard that nobody uses anymore, RSS and Atom for syndicating content, but now that thing evolved to be what's today the headless. And you have the content, you have the mechanisms to put that content in front of your users. But now the third part of a really good DXP solution is the users, right? The users that are interacting with your product is really important for a DXP. Not only to manage sessions, because that is too basic. It's about managing what is the experience, the actual experience that your user are gonna have using your product, right? Creating segments based on the user profile or based on the behavior of the user, to making sure that you're managing what the user are seeing is relevant for them. It's an important thing. So in a DXP solution, you expect that everything is connected, because you can create awesome experiences building with 10 different solutions. But when you're buying a DXP solution, your expectation is that the platform are going to have solutions for that. And if you don't like the solution that is built on the platform, you can connect to your current or the systems that you want. So that is another important thing. The DXP has to have these foundational features, but it's really important for a DXP that you can basically integrate with other platforms, because the DXP is not going to manage all the information of your customers. You have a data platform for that. You have CRMs, you have the external database. So in the final architecture of a DXP solution, you are expecting that your DXP can do all of that. So that is basically the essentials of our product. We manage these three things. On top of that, we integrate to other solutions to make sure that we can build the experience that our customers want.
Is very key. Yeah, no, I mean, talking about managed services, having that option if they want to use it or not, knowing that if you're choosing it, you're going to have a high level of security. So to kind of back off and look at these bigger problems, we've gone from talking about choosing some features to, deleting code and going with other ones to keep a very clean architecture. We're talking about modularity, decoupling, making it very easy to develop. But all of this leads up to one big thing, which is the problems that we're trying to solve, right? So what I'm really curious from the mind of the CTO is, what are the biggest problems that Modyo is trying to solve today in 2021? And are the problems that we're solving today, are they the same as they were in the past? Are there new challenges that are emerging? Anything to do with now? What does that look like? What are the problems that are trying to get addressed by a platform like Modyo?
Well, one thing is obviously talk about the platform, the way that we deploy, right? But the customers are doing this because they have an expectations of what Modyo can do for them, and the challenge that basically we can solve with the help of this platform, right? And one of the most important things is basically this concept of accelerate the way that digital products are created and maintained. So for us, Modyo is all about that. Why? Because I'm not gonna say like 5 or 10 years ago, but some time ago, everything was a project, especially with big clients, with the big clients that we have today. Everything was a project. So the project has a beginning and an end, right? So you start the project, select the provider, you build the piece of software that you wanted, and after that, everything stop. You deliver the product for your customers, and if the customer they didn't like the product, you can do anything about it because the thing is already built. So that was more or less what was built in software in the last, I don't know, 20 years. But today is different because customers, they have alternatives. If they don't like your mobile app, they can switch to to another.
Absolutely.
I mean, with digital onboarding and a lot of different solutions, you are opening doors for facilitating this movement of users, selecting what they think that is okay for them. In the past, probably you want to create a huge relation or a good relation with your executive, and for you go to the branch of the bank, it was an experience, right? But today everything is about digital products. So in order to maintain a digital product and making sure that you're hearing your customers and you have the ability of making changes continuously, you have to have a good foundation. So that's why most of the customers that we have today, we help them to replace the monolith solution that they previously have, or code from previous generations of people inside the customer, because there is another component which is people rotation. I mean, in big companies, the people rotate a lot, and it's difficult because the developer that made a decision in 2 years probably he's not going to be there for justifying that decision. So there is a lot of rotation. There is a lot of factors that makes a really good case for building the things in a different way. It's more at a component level. For instance, using micro frontend is really great because if you know that you have to make a change in a specific part of your digital product, you don't have to redeploy the whole thing. If you're following a microservice architecture, if you have to switch an API to connect to a different system, you can do it without disrupting the whole bank operations. So that kind of architecture is really popular these days, and is basically really valuable because you can mount all of this agility layer on top of what you already have. I mean, you don't have to switch all the systems that you have. Basically, you need to make sure that you're building good interfaces to create this layer of agility, which are basically microservices, APIs, and the micro frontends on top of Modyo. And after that, you can provide really good tools to your developers and content marketers, for instance, that allow them to basically make changes and put a lot of agility in what they're doing in their digital products. So I think that's a really important. That is the challenge that we want to keep solving in the following years.
Perfect. That's I really look forward to that. You know what? This has been a great conversation. It's great to go from the past until now and even looking a little bit ahead. But something we do traditionally in Insights from the Inside is we always want to know with every expert we have on the show, do you have any book recommendations? So I know that you've mentioned a couple, but I would love to hear them.
Great. Well, actually, because I'm the technical guy in Modyo, I have two technical books,
Okay.
but I think that they're really good for anyone working on technology. The first one is not new. Is I think that was written like 12 years ago. It's called Leading Lean Software Development from Mary and Tom Poppendick.
Okay.
This is a great book. I mean, it's timeless. It's a technical book, but technical, more oriented to how teams develop software. Um, Today is for us it's really common to talk about Scrum, to talk about Kanban as a methodology, right? But the theory behind that, the way that you have to basically visualize how you want to create something with agility, without creating waste in the process, and focusing all of your key talented resources on making sure that they're building the right thing. That book is all about that. Actually, it talks the story behind the history behind the construction of the Empire State, which was an awesome building, right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it has a record of being one of the, the fastest constructed building in the world, because in order to construct it, they follow a lot of lean practices in those years, like making
Oh,
sure that
wow.
nobody's blocking each other and how they organize the experts, and not following the traditional practices. That is
Hmm.
what that book is about. So I really recommend it. Another book, this is really technical, but it's really important. I actually recommend this book to front-end developers, back-end developers, whatever developer, full stack, because it's really important for the moment that we are with the technology, because everything is on internet. Every time offline experience are not so common. Even the games are totally connected, right? If you lose the connection of the internet, you're figuring out that you can play the game because the game is always connected to the server, right? So it's really important to understand what's happening behind that, the connections, the protocols, the speed, the optimizations. All the internet technology was really famous for not changing too much. For instance, we have HTTP 1 for years and years. Actually, we had 1.1 and that's it. 20 years of internet history based on one version of the protocol. But after that, there is a lot of new things like HTTP 2, 3, and the ways that the connections are getting impacted with for instance, the mobility, the edge networks. And you have to know all of that, because if you want to create a great user experience, you have to put all of those factors in the table, because at some points there are going to be decisions, technical decisions that you have to make, and you need to understand the reality of your users. So if your users are going to be in an office connected to an Ethernet cable, the decisions are not the same of a person that is constantly moving, changing from one provider to another provider, and making antenna switches. And the way that you design your application have to consider that. So this book is called High Performance High Performance Browser, um, from Ilya Grigorik. He worked 10 years on Google. Now he's working on Shopify, I think.
Hmm.
Great book. So I totally recommend it to. Not, it doesn't matter if you are a manager or a senior manager. I'm gonna recommend that anyways, because it's a knowledge that is really important to know these days.
Perfect. Well, Tonio, thanks so much for your time today. This has been an awesome insight. I really value the book recommendations. We got some technical books in there that we haven't had before. And I really look forward to anything that we're doing in the future with Modyo and possibly having you on the show again. So thanks so much for
Oh,
coming
that's great.
today.
That's great. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Um, I'm here if you want to talk about anything. I'm really passionate about the technology, and I really would I really like to talk. So I have no problem for participating
Perfect.
again.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tonio.